Welcome to the Sustainability Business Podcast, a show bringing conversations to the community shaping the future of energy and sustainability. Be sure to join us on LinkedIn and learn about the innovative solutions that are turning the tide towards a more sustainable future for all.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Kate Pleward from Schneider Electric, and welcome to the Unstuck podcast, where we aim to uncover some of the most common roadblocks that organizations encounter along their sustainability journeys. So often, clients come to us with sustainability goals or even publicly announced targets, but have little idea on how to actually achieve those. And each year, they fall a little bit further behind making progress towards those goals. At Schneider Electric, we call this the ambition to impact gap. And we've helped companies all around the globe address this challenge. So in this podcast series, we will showcase real client stories, sharing insights on how they bridge the gap from stuck to unstuck, achieving both sustainability and business goals. And if you are feeling stuck on your company's sustainability journey, please know that you are not alone. Recent research by the think tank Climate Impact Partners reveals that about 90% of Fortune 500 global companies are not on track to reach their targets. So the big question is, why are so many companies struggling? To help answer this question, I'm delighted to have with me today Carlos Velázquez, the Sustainability Director for Roca Group, a leading global manufacturer specializing in innovative bathroom solutions, and Joaquim Dora, Schneider Electric's Energy Management Director. Together, we're going to explore Roca Group's experience and share some of their successes that they've achieved along their journey. We'll also hear about how Schneider Electric helped Roca achieve and accelerate across their global portfolio impactful solutions and sustainability outcomes. So welcome to you both. Let's dive into this topic. And Carlos, I would like to start with you. Let's just give the listeners a little bit of background, if you will, on what Roca Group does and kind of how the development of its first ever internal sustainability team got started.
All right. Thank you, Kate. And thank you, Kim, for being here with me today. Roca is a company that it is over 100-year-old. It's a family-owned business, fourth generation already. It has 81 factories around the world. We produce everything for the bathroom, and we have been doing it in a very responsible way. We have 20,000 employees, and we are present in five continents. Well, I mentioned that during our long history, we have done things in a responsible way, but it was time now to do it in a sustainable way, in the extent of the ESG. So it was time to do it in a strategic way, so we could accelerate the impact. What happened is that until 5 years ago, we didn't have a sustainability department. We didn't have a sustainability strategy. And suddenly, I was appointed sustainability director to make it happen. I've been in the group for almost 30 years in Roca Group. I started my career being expat in Portugal, Morocco, USA, Bulgaria during 12 years. And then one of the previous CEOs asked me to go back to the headquarters to lead the marketing direction of the group. So in my position there, I push very much the introduction of sustainability features into the products and also into the communication. After 12 years of being in the sustainability direction, and with the new CEO coming, I asked him one day to go for lunch. And during that lunch, I asked him that after 12 years in marketing, he needed new blood, and I needed a new challenge. And he offered me to set up, for the first time ever, the sustainability strategy of the Roca Group. Well, that was a big thing, because being the first gives you the opportunity to lay off a brand new wall, but there are a lot of expectations. Kate, what happens is that I was, very, very happy with the assignment. I was all ready, but after that, 1 month later, the lockdown came, the COVID came, and the lockdown came. So what happened? All my enthusiasm, all my passion was a little stuck there. What do I do? Of course, I decided not to bother my boss, the CEO. That was number one priority. He had enough on his plate with the COVID. So what I did is I called the human resources guy and I asked him to enroll me in different degrees to learn about sustainability. So I took the Cambridge Sustainability Leadership, I took the IMD Sustainability Initiatives lessons, and for 4 months, I was working like 6-7 hours on these lectures, on these sessions, while I was doing my job as well, which was a little slow at that time. So I had the opportunity to learn first step, because we were a company that we were using common sense and responsibility, but we didn't know much about sustainability in the technical way. So that was the opportunity. And second, and more important, I could hear and listen to my peers of other companies to explain me failures, to explain me successes on how they did it. That was great. That was fantastic. That was gold for me. Well, after these 4 months, 3 months, 4 months, and after surviving the lockdown, the company recovered. Our company, our business, it was not so much impacted because people stayed at home and did a lot of remodeling in the bathroom. Yeah. So we could breathe a little bit. So at that moment, I called my boss and I told him that I knew what to do in terms of sustainability. So he said, okay, I will listen to you. So I explained him what I believed we should do. And after that video call, he asked me to come to Barcelona to the board and present it to the board. And the strategy and the setting of the sustainability brand new wall in Roca was approved.
Wow. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Talk about a hard start to a new job, but that's a wonderful outcome. And I think having that C-level and board buy-in is so critical to success. If you don't have that, it's very hard to move forward. So you have your board approval. You have a very supportive CEO. Tell me a little bit about where you started once you have that approval.
All right. So first of all, it was the understanding, learning, listening, and then it was laying it on a paper so they could understand where my vision was taking to the group in terms of sustainability. The first thing that I asked, it was support, as you mentioned, Kate. Support from the board and from the CEO. Once I knew, not that I felt, I knew that I had it, is when I deployed my plan. A plan that I developed with a core people of the company that I knew that they were very keen and very formed on sustainability. So it is not only my mission, my work, my initiative. No, it was a core of 2-3 people that helped me very much. And I still remember that without them, it would have been another thing. So the first thing, it is to explain them that I needed a team. The second, that this team should be part of a steering sustainability committee, including the directors of manufacturing, marketing, IT/DT, industrial directions, supply chain. So you see, everyone, human resources, controlling, everyone to make sure that they were validating the strategy, adding to the strategy, and helping me to deploy it. Because at the end of the day, my team, it is not 20,000 people. It is their teams that they are 20,000 people. So I would need help there. Okay. The first thing that I did is validate the roadmap with them. And this roadmap, this sustainability roadmap, talked about a triple positive impact. So stop talking about environment when we talk about sustainability. Sustainability is much more than environment. It is environment, it is people, it is governance. We call it people, planet, and prosperity. And this became the purpose of the company on top of the mission and vision. So what we do and how we do it, it is to achieve this triple impact. Now that we have put the holistic approach to sustainability on the table, now we develop it with a roadmap with some work streams. Decarbonization, circularity, sustainable products, people, society, sustainable supply chain, sustainable logistics, and all this because by listening to the stakeholders, by doing the double materiality impact assessment, they told us that these were the themes that we had to engage and to work with. Now, with these work streams, I also delivered a proposal of 50 projects with 50 key leaders, teams, one target per project and one objective per project. Yeah. And they approve it and they assign money to that. And we started.
That's great. And one of the things I think that you did so purposefully is create kind of a guiding coalition for this initiative. And I think that's so important. And frankly, one of the biggest obstacles I think we see to, I think, adoption and acceleration of sustainability plans. I love that you had not only, operational leaders from your manufacturing facilities, you had marketing, you had IT people, you had HR people. You made sure you had people from lots of different leadership roles throughout the company to make sure that the roadmap that you were building would work for them. It was aligned also with company goals. All of those are so critical. And I think that's one of the things we often see as an obstacle is when a strategy is developed at the enterprise level without a lot of input from the site level or other parts of the company. And it's kind of pushed down like, good luck, guys, to do that. That rarely works. And so the fact that from the very early days where you were building the plan, you had feedback from those folks, I think especially in manufacturing facilities where the manufacturing process is so important to the company's overall success, that is so critical. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'd like to hear a little bit, maybe, Kim, where Schneider Electric joined this effort. That is, I think you set a phenomenal ambition for the company, very comprehensive. Kim, talk a little bit about, the day you heard from Carlos and kind of how you started to help support that ambition.
Yeah, well, so that was many years ago when we started working. And I remember one of the first meetings we had, Carlos, myself, and Albert, the Roca Group CEO. And we had a discussion, openly discussion. And I told him, well, what Schneider can do for you in an early stage is to help you to answer 4 questions. First question would be, on what you can commit. Mm-hmm. Second would be, how long will it take to get to that commitment? Third, obviously, how much will it cost? And fourth, what do I have to do? And Albert told me, well, that's honestly, that's what we need. And I said, well, then what you need is a decarbonization roadmap. And he said, well, then it's time to start. It's time to co-work with our team because you need to learn a lot from us. And to go ahead. And that was really the very starting point. So what we had in mind, it was, okay, we need to build a global decarbonization roadmap. So that's a strategy, but that strategy, it's built out of several smaller strategies. An energy efficiency strategy, energy digitization strategy, a renewable energy strategy purchasing, compensation, CO2 compensation strategy. So it was really building several strategies all together, so to build a real story that would fit on Roca's on Carlos' expectations, in fact, because that was one of the streams he was working, decarbonization. And that's how we really started. So it was really a big challenge because, as you, Catherine, was saying, it was not trying to bring something from up down. it was working a bottom-top approach. So we had to foresee how we would work at a corporate level, but bringing sites into this scenario.
And this scheme is very interesting that what you are saying, because we had to make it happen bottom down and vice versa. And considering the complexity of our business, it is not the same a factory of Vitro China than a factory of faucets and taps, or a faucet of shower trays. So we have a lot of complexity. So, and we wanted to understand the plans, the different plans. So what we did before deploying this decarbonization roadmap, it was, again, to learn. So with Kim, we prepared the workshops, and we visited all these factories with the people, different businesses. So we learned. And then we had this model, Kim, if you remember, for every kind of plant. And then we could roll it out and finalize this decarbonization roadmap that Kim and the team presented to me first, then to the team, the steering committee that we were working together with the industrial directors and the operations guys. And then is when we brought it back to our CEO.
Exactly, because from the very early meetings, you could see that leadership, you can see Carlos speaking, leadership, we had leadership. We had commitment, and you could listen to the CEO, and he was committed. The only thing maybe that it could be missing was governance. And that's why we started working with those initial workshops, just to really understand and to meet the steering committee Carlos had defined and had been working.
So Carlos, one of the things that we've talked about earlier was how purposeful you were about the change management component, right? You had an incredibly supportive C-level and board. You had a very engaged guiding coalition or steering committee, but you had to get this ambition, this strategy bought into by, you said, 5 continents, 81 manufacturing facilities. Can you talk a little bit about how you went about being really purposeful with communications and change management so that when you did launch, people were on board?
Okay, yeah. It is funny that when we talk about a sustainability communication, internal and external, we call it promotion. Promotion. I think that it is more promotion. It is more an active word, and it really explains what we try to do. The first thing that we had to do, it is to engage people. This is like cooking a soup. If you cook the soup alone, there will be guests that would love the soup, but some others could not like the soup. But if you ask them to cook together, most probably everybody will love that soup. So that was the first thing. Bring them on board. We, as a group, are doing this, and you are part of this.
Yeah.
For good and for better, not for the bad. For good and for better, you are part of this. Help me. I will lead. I will make your life easy. But at the end of the day, validate and help me to make it happen. Yes, but based on what knowledge? If we don't know what sustainability is, okay, since I was lucky to be one step ahead as the most of my colleagues, we initially put a sub-department of sustainability together that was called Sustainability Promotion. And we started generating contents, Kate. We generated contents from what is ESG, to what is science-based target, to what is a PPA, with us, what is a circularity roadmap, what is cradle to cradle. So we started launching contents in a video capsules of 5 minutes and starting teaching the people about sustainability, and also opening a SharePoint so they could access these materials, but bring to us their concerns or their questions. This one, a public internal SharePoint that still is working, as still the sustainability committee meets every 3 months today after these 5 years, and it has been a fantastic channel. We have informed, we have engaged, but then for the 50 project managers of the projects that we have in the roadmap, we open another SharePoint that it was much more technical, with a follow-up of every initiative and every project, where I can meet there with the project managers and analyze the status, the update of the project, and ask them if they need more resources, what is the problem, why this is stuck, why it is going so well, can we transfer this to another area, another part of the world. So we gave access to everybody to be part of this journey. This is key.
Absolutely. And I would say to our listeners, do not underestimate the importance of that change management and communications work stream. If you do not have buy-in from your sites, from the leaders of those sites, this goes nowhere. Even the best plans can go nowhere if you don't have that buy-in. So critical that you have that piece. So everything is going well. Aside from that little thing called the pandemic, which stopped the world, your launch of the first ever sustainability leader and team was going very well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you ran into challenges and where you got a little stuck? And for our listeners, I'll say there's some common ones we hear about all the time. It is around governance, right? Making sure all of your business units, all of your sites are on board, bought in with your plan. It is often about funding and financial enablement to get past low-hanging fruit. It is oftentimes about data, right? Having one pane of glass to see and make decisions with. It's often about knowledge, having your teams aware of and understanding what you're trying to accomplish. And it's often about implementation. I think those are the big 5 obstacles that we see time and again. So Carlos, I would love to hear of those. Which of those kind of got you stuck or a little bit delayed?
Kate, I will pick up on 2 of the ones that you mentioned. The first was the knowledge. I mean, we are a company that we know very much on what we are doing, but there are new things that we have to learn. For every work stream, decarbonization, water neutrality, circularity, we had to pick up some partners to develop, to ground the project, and that's why. For example, we picked up a Schneider for the decarbonization. For the first moment that I was stuck and how I continue, well, it's because I needed much more expertise than the one that I had it. So we blended the expertise coming from an outsider into the one that we had, and it worked very well. And it worked very well because both organizations melt well. And we created not a relation of supplier-customer, but a partnership that today still goes. By the way, in all the workshops and all the visits that we do with Kim, we are both runners, and we start the day at 6 o'clock in the morning by running. So this is how you create teams, no? And I think that this is one of the first topics: knowledge. Get the knowledge from inside and melt it from outside, from the ones that they know. And that's a critical decision. And then the second is data. If you don't know where you are, you cannot decide where to go. So data in a company that has grown so much by mergers, acquisitions, and greenfields, the access to data, it is diverse. So for the greenfields, we control the building of the factory from A to Z, but sometimes we buy companies that they are not in the same momentum, and we need to help them to reach there. Because if we don't have the right sensors sending the right data to the right energy management systems or water management systems, we are lost, Kate. And this is very difficult. This seems very simple. But when you have 81 factories and 100 years of history, I would warn everyone listening, this is much more difficult than it seems.
Yeah. And I would say don't underestimate that. As shockingly as this sounds in this day and age, with all the digital tools we have, with the kind of birth of AI, we still know that about 60% of businesses still do not have a clear view of their data. So that is the majority of companies. And as you said, with mergers and acquisitions, with operating on 5 different continents, it is not uncommon not to have that single pane of glass. And I'll tell you a little side story of a company we were working with that had lots of manufacturing facilities. They had one that was kind of their shining star of making progress with energy efficiency and decarbonization. And they were reducing 5% year over year. And everybody's like, wow, what are they doing? They're doing so well. And when they actually finally got all their data into one platform so they could see it all together, they realized that that factory actually was probably the biggest energy hog, the biggest energy user of all of their facilities. And they didn't see it because they just saw their one single view. They didn't have that comparison. So that kind of brings me maybe a little bit to the implementation process, because I think the implementation piece is another area where we see companies get stuck a lot. They have a great plan. They have big ambitions. They struggle to get past and actually implement. So I would love to hear both of you talk a little bit about the implementation stage and maybe the unique process that Schneider Electric kind of walked the Roca Group through with the workshops, and then how you scaled that across the 81 facilities.
So again, remember, we were sitting with the CEO. We promised we will help you to answer those 4 questions. Mm-hmm. We had in mind this double approach. So with Carlos, we got the list of the different sites spread in the world, several business units, so particularities, because Vitro China has nothing to do with furniture. So we had really to understand the different processes we had in Roca Group. So what we decided is we need to choose some relevant sites where to start learning from. So we chose some relevant sites, and we did it in a very clever manner. So we chose all of them in a country, in the same country, which was Portugal. Okay, because we had significant factories there, very relevant for the different business units and processes. First thing to do, though, go down to site, do several energy audits, understand the processes, understand the energy balance. And once we understood the different business units and the factories we visited, we went to the workshops. So we asked Carlos to bring the different people, different roles in the different workshops, because, as he was just saying, we wanted all the people to be onboarded in this sustainability or decarbonization roadmap. So we worked all together. We had in mind that we had to develop several strategies and later on bring them all together. So we started with the energy efficiency projects, what we call the ECMs, energy conservative measure. So from what we learned, we discussed with them openly so that they could see, well, we already did that, but we did not succeed because of that, whatever. So we kept on discussing and trying to find out which ECMs would make sense. Maybe not for that site, but for other from the same business units. So we kept on analyzing and adding a long list of ECMs. But that had to do with energy efficiency. Second, and you were speaking about data. We need to gather data. We need to define which data is relevant. So we worked all together to define KPIs at different levels. Some KPIs would make sense at a corporate level, some others at a business unit level, and some others at a plant level. Mm-hmm. From those KPIs, it would be much easier to understand all what had to be censored. So data is relevant, but an excess of data brings to a lack of information. Too many information. You need the right information. You need to know, am I achieving savings? Am I going at the right speed? That's the data you need. So energy efficiency, digitization, KPIs, reporting. What do we have to report? Do we have to report everything at all the levels? No, we need to structure. Some reporting has to be done at a corporate level because we need to put all together. Some other information, business unit, plant level, deep detail, plant level, not at a corporate level. And governance, role. What is the people accountable for? Who's responsible for what? And standardizing the different roles we had to bring into the team. Okay, so after that workshop, we had a double success. One was we had already the roadmap for each of the sites which had been chosen as pilots. We had already the roadmap for those sites. So we were already bringing Roca Group value. They could already see after a couple of months that, wow, we already have for those pilots a roadmap. How much we can achieve, how many savings, how much it will cost, what do we have to need to install, so to censor and to follow up. But at the same time, we had standardized all the governance. We had standardized the ECMs. We had standardized the KPIs. We had standardized all the reporting. We had standardized all the roles, all the governance. So that was really great work. We did all together. And I would say that most of the work was done by them because they knew their factories, they knew their processes. We were experts in energy efficiency, in digitization, but they knew their house, they knew their factories. So it was really a melting, a blending, as Carlos was saying before.
I want to summarize because you said some very, very important things there. One is, and we see this sometimes when, again, a strategy and even targets are set at the enterprise level and kind of pushed down to the enterprise level, targets that are not agreed upon, targets that are not understood. And so this workshop approach, I think, is very interesting because you bring all the right decision makers and stakeholders to the table at the same time with a cluster of very strategically chosen sites that have something in common, geography, or they do the same processes, or whatever the case may be. Those leaders are helping to form the strategy. They're helping to determine the KPIs that are achievable for the company and for the sites. And they are working on the implementation roadmap. And again, this is where I see and hear about so many companies getting stuck, is that they don't have that roadmap. So they'll be given, here's the ambition, here's your KPIs, now go, without any roadmap of how they're going to do it. And so the fact that this group of folks that know their business inside and out were helping determine the technology solutions, I would say the process in which they would implement the work streams, gives them a very clear roadmap to implement. They don't have to do that work by themselves. And the enterprise level folks know, to your point, answering those four very simple questions, which sometimes are not asked during that target setting stage. What's it going to take to get there? What's it going to cost? Who do we need to do it? Et cetera, et cetera. And so all that is determined in the workshop, and these roadmaps are going out. So this concept of clustering is very important because it helps us learn, it helps us get stakeholders on board, and then it helps us accelerate throughout the rest of a portfolio with other clusters as we bring them on. The other concept I'd love for you to talk about, Kim, is this concept of portfolio of ECMs, because financial enablement and being able to afford this is very important. Getting it past the CFO sniff test is very important. So can you talk a little bit about the concept of portfolio mapping as a part of the road mapping exercise?
Sure. So once we had done the several workshops, we had standardized all the ECMs, KPIs. So next, what was done? We did a questionnaire, we did a survey to the 84 sites at that time, 81 now. So to really understand which was the status of each of the sites in the world. And in order to do that and to collect data and to analyze data later on, we used Resource Advisor. So we used our energy platform or our sustainability platform, so to manage the survey to each of the different sites, to ask them regarding this ECM, which is your stage, have you done it? Have you done a bit of it? Is it impossible? So collecting all the data later on, it was quite easy for us, and said quite because it's a lot of information, to organize, analyze, and what Catherine, what you were just saying, clusterize, group, prioritize, put focus on. So once we analyze all the data, we defined 4 groups. First group were the pilots. They already had their roadmap. Excellent. And they had already the budget. So, or let's say, so they could already go to the market and ask for implementation. But then, once we analyzed, we saw that some sites you had to act now because you were losing money there. You had huge opportunities. So those were the act now cluster. Then we had some other sites, most of them, which needed a programmatic approach. Once Roca has industrialized the ECMs, the energy efficiency projects, you can implement them in a programmatic way, planned, structured, with the resources, with the budgets, and knowing each of the sites that they will come in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, in 4 years' time. And last but not least, you will have a last cluster, which we called opportunistic, where low profitability, but still you need to censor, you need to digitize them because you need to gather data, because you need the reporting. You need to understand if you are reducing your CO2 emissions. So, okay, do not invest lots of money there, except that you're going to refurbish part of the process or you're going to refurbish part of the building, then you need to go ahead. But please, you still need to gather some data so to answer the KPIs, because you at a corporate level need that information, because in the plan you are planning to go for science-based target, and you need really to have the overall picture.
Good. So this idea of clustering sites and a portfolio of ECMs can help go faster, can help create efficiencies with cost and with, I would say, bandwidth. But I want to move to another topic that I think is probably one of the, we talk about getting stuck. One of the issues that you had is your desire to electrify very energy intensive processes within your facilities. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got your electrification ambitions unstuck. So maybe talk a little bit about what the problem was and how you solved it, because I think that shows incredible innovation.
See, we had, with the help of Schneider, we set up our carbon strategy, and we set our ambition to become net zero 2045, with an intermediate step of reduction of 42% in scope 1 and 2 based on science-based target compared to 2021, and 25% reduction in scope 3. So that was ambition. Now, how we do that? As Kim was mentioning, it was the pilots, the Act Now, the programmatic. By the way, we are now in the programmatic. We learned from Kim's team, and we went from doing it with them to do it alone, because we learned, and now we can do it alone ourselves, these workshops in the programmatic phase. Now, when we arrive to a workshop, we already know that this is gonna be about energy balance, setting the team, the KPIs, etc., as we mentioned. And then we know the usual suspects is sensorizing, EMC, it is energy efficiency, it is electrification of processes and machines, it is linked to photovoltaics, it is linked to a PPA, a virtual or direct PPA. All right. We knew all that, we learned all that, and we are applying all that. But what happens when in a Vitro China factory, you have a tunnel kiln, a natural gas tunnel kiln of 140 meters long that burns Vitro China pieces at 1300 Celsius degrees. So what happens? 4 years ago, what happened is that everybody in the sector said that electrifying that monster was impossible. And we didn't take it. We had some guys, some technicians, engineers in the plant of Austria in Gmunden, that they knocked the door of the industrial director, myself, and the CEO, and they said, we have an idea on how to electrify a tunnel kiln. All right, tell us. So we listened to them. It made sense, and we invite them to explore how to develop with the kiln manufacturer. Some kiln manufacturers said it was impossible, but there was one, Keramischer Offenbau, in Germany, that said, this could work. Let us think about that. They came back to us and said, this is going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time, but it can happen. Okay, you have the money, you have the time, let's do it. After that, a couple of months later, they came back and said, it's not so easy. Because if we devote all these resources to this new division of electrical kilns, we are forgetting about our core business, which is the natural gas kiln, and we are not dimensioned for that. Okay, don't worry. We have a company that it is called Roca Group Venture that is funding startups. So what we propose to you is we invest in your company, we buy 66% of your shares, we capitalize you, we still give you the management. We will not control the company. You would control the company. We only finance, and you develop this electrical kiln division for us and for the entire sector. That's why we didn't want to be in the management of that company, because what we wanted is to solve a problem for Roca, but also for the sector. Now, 4 years later, the first electrical tunnel kiln for Vitro China is a reality in the first net zero plant of Vitro China in the world in Gmunden, Austria. Wow. It took time, it took suffering, it took setbacks, but it is there. And now, of course, Kate, thank you, Kate. And now, of course, we are going to commission, we have commissioned already 4 more kilns. Of course, we have to roll it out to make it happen, to achieve our targets. Thank you, Kate.
Wow. That's an amazing story and shows such innovation across the Roca Group. So I want to bring this home. We've talked about so many interesting things today. I'd like to talk about lessons learned for those folks that are listening. This is a very interesting story in that this was a company who kind of was launching their first ever sustainability ambition. So Kim, I'd like to start with you, maybe with lessons learned. You know, as you're thinking about starting with a new client who is starting this journey, what would be your best advice to them on how to get started?
Well, for sure, companies are made out of people. And so people make the difference. And that's it. So great people make great companies. Leadership. If you start a new initiative, you need leadership, especially if it's a brand new initiative, as it was for Roca. Then, as Carlos was saying, and he was putting, he was saying the example of how to cook a soup. If you want your people to cook the soup with you, as he was saying, you need them to know what to do. You need them to know what to be accountable for. So governance. Mm-hmm. People need help, need to know what to do and to be happy doing what they are doing. Third, commitment, especially XCOM commitment, because at the beginning things are very easy. It's very nice. It was very nice to work with sustainability. It's very sexy, very fashion. But later on, barriers come, new initiative, new programs. You either have somebody who help you to put focus or to keep focus, or you will lose the speed. And last but not least, I would say, but the best lesson learned is from Roca was the willingness to learn. And Carlos, he was using the words. He was saying blending and melting. So if I keep the sample, we taught Roca Group how to cook the soup. Once they were mature enough, they kept on putting new ingredients. So they did a kind of a new soup, which could be nicer for their people, could be with a particular taste, more Roca Group taste, let's say. But they never forgot to come to our classroom and keep on learning, because they knew that, okay, we had taught Roca Group to build their soup or to cook their soup, but at the same time, we were helping other companies to cook their own soup. And we are in the market, so we were learning at the same time. So they kept on coming to our classes, to our classroom, keep on learning and putting in practice the new experiences. So for me, that would be the lesson learned. Leadership, the clear governance, commitments, and willingness to learn, to put in practice what you learned. Technology, digitization will come. For sure will come, but you either have those, let's say, those topics on top of the table, or digitization, ECMs will not make sense to your story.
Yeah. So, and I would totally agree with that. Listening to other consultants around the world saying it's not often the technology that is the barrier. It's not often knowing what to do. It is all those other things that are the obstacles, the governance, the financial enablement, the lack of C-level endorsement. So you guys started at just the right spot. Well, Carlos, I'd love to give you the last word. If you were talking with someone who was entering a sustainability leadership role for the first time, like you did for Roca Group, what advice would you give them on how to get started?
I would recommend to be very humble and to learn and to engage. This is such a giant work that you cannot do it alone. So either you have a team and you allow this team to work with you, or you will fail. This is like a marathon. Mm-hmm. It is a long-term project. And in the marathon, you will find the 30 kilometers wall and setbacks, and you will need to be there and to surpass this wall. So patience, long-term, and team. If you want to arrive far, go together. You cannot do it alone. And I'm talking about the company and the entire supply chain. Climate change, and we are talking about decarbonization here, it is such a big problem that nobody can fix it alone. It is a common work.
Yeah. Well, we are thrilled to be your partner in that journey. You both seem like you are excellent partners and brought value to the table for a very big footprint of a very big company. So I thank you so much both for sharing this story. It is not only, I think, innovative and shows unbelievable progress in just 5 short years, but it's also very aspirational. So I really appreciate you sharing your story of your successes, but also your obstacles and where you got stuck, because I think that's really something people need to hear, that you will hit obstacles. That will happen, but you can overcome them. So if you would like to learn more about Roca Group or Schneider Electric, you can read more of our client stories online at www.perspectives.se.com. And thank you both. And I hope our listeners stay tuned for future podcasts for Unstuck, so we can hear more great stories like Roca Group. Thanks to you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Sustainability Business Podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the Trailblazers and their innovative solutions for a more sustainable future. Be sure to connect with us on LinkedIn to stay engaged and informed. Together, we can be the change makers our planet needs.